Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. It's Paul John Dykes here for the match day against Falkirk. I'm lining up with the five-a-side team. I'm in goals, and I've got Tony Haggerty at right back, Lawrence Conley, midfield general, and Laura Bradburn and Russell Boyce up front. Right, we're playing a third-tier team in the Scottish Cup. Never in history of Scottish football has any team ever won 5 Scottish Cups in a row. Celtic have that opportunity this evening. Do you think we'll do it, Tony, at half-time? Playing a second-string Falkirk, as we keep getting reminded.
Has anyone told the players that they're going for 5 in a row Scottish Cup?
I know. Makes you wonder.
You joked at the top of the programme about the team formation, and the last time Christie was up front was the 2-0 game against Ross County. Mm-hmm. Be careful what you joke about. You know that. I mean, that's been pretty turgid, eh? Let's be honest.
It has.
Beat about the bush. It's been turgid, and the chances that they've created. What do players do at training when they practice shooting? Seriously, I mean, it's unbelievable how professional football players cannot hit the target. I really escape. Can't hit the target. You practice till you can hit the target.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, Tony. Now the stats speak for themselves, and I know people say, stats don't tell the whole story. But in the last 2.5 games, so Dundee United, Rangers, and now one half against Falkirk, Celtic have had 62 shots at goal. 62 shots at goal. 23 on target, 1 goal was the 1 goal against Rangers. So that just backs up your point. Exactly, Tony. What are they doing at training? I mean, Lee Griffiths has scuffed 2 from 12 yards in that first half. Ryan Christie is so bad that even the Falkirk social media team are trolling him, right? And I'm going to bring in some of the comments. So James Pearson 88 on YouTube, Christie in a Celtic jersey is just so wasteful. I think that first half, wasteful is the word that I would describe that first half as. Laura Bradburn, you're waiting patiently to get in on the action. What's your thoughts?
I've just seen a comment from somebody there, I think it was Brian Murphy on YouTube. On what basis were the panel basing their 4 or 5 goal predictions before the match? Now, okay, we were having a bit of a laugh and trying to be positive, but the basis of it should be we're Celtic, we're playing against a team that are 2 divisions below us, who aren't playing their full-strength team, and we're going for the Scottish Cup. If that isn't basis enough to go to predict 4 or 5-0, I don't know what is. I think if there's one thing I've learned from tonight, is there are some players in that team who should be absolutely mortified to be sharing a pitch with James Forrest. We have missed him more than words can say this season, because he's the only one out there who looks like, not even that looks like he could create anything, but the only one that looked like he had any enthusiasm for the game that he was playing. Possibly Ayer comes into that category a little bit as well. But I mean, we've provided so much content over this season for everybody to watch, and you do try and prevent yourself becoming like a broken record. But as Tony's just said, we've said the word turgid I don't know how many times this season, and it's another situation tonight where we've created how many chances and we're still sitting here at 0-0, and all that needs to happen is for them to go up the other end of the park with a counter-attack, and we're finding ourselves in a situation where we could be out of the cup before we even get started.
I know that's the biggest worry, because I think you're absolutely right there. On what basis would you expect to score 4 or even 5 goals against a team that's 2 divisions below you and who aren't even playing their first team? We were reminded quite a few times that this was a second string. I said 62 shots at goal. It's actually 64. So there was a couple I didn't count in that first half. 64 shots at goal Celtic have had, and under John Kennedy, and we've scored 1 goal. And I think, one of the conversations we had, Russell, in the pre-match was all around bringing in your own team. Because there was this suggestion that John Kennedy would be part of the Eddie Howe, resurrection, if you like, of Celtic Football Club. Well, there you go. There's no cutting edge under a team managed by John Kennedy, just as there was no cutting edge under Neil Lennon this season. I mean, how embarrassing is that? 64 shots at goal, 1 goal.
I think you're looking at a team that's completely lost their killer instinct. Do you know what I mean? Like, they seem to just... the final third area where they need to be bold. You're now listening to Michael Stewart in the commentary complimenting David Turnbull for playing a 15-yard pass to the left-hand side because he missed a player out. As if like this is now we're really, look how creative this is, guys. And I think Michael Stewart has been genuine. But the fact of the matter is that tells you how far this ship has sunk. It's unbelievable to think that could be, that's how we make differences in games. I think there was a moment where Lee Griffiths got the ball and he decides to take it to the left to get round the defender before trying to hit it. Okay, he might have got a penalty. Lee Griffiths, normally for me, hits that first time instinctively. And that instinct seems to have gone from this team. That, that spark, that what I loved about Celtic, over the last, decade of dominance has been the fact that when it's came to these sort of moments, we've got magic coming from somewhere. And I think, don't get me wrong, Neil Lennon relied too heavily on that, as opposed to, setting up shape and systems. We've discussed before in the platform that perhaps he was just too often saying, go out and do your thing, make something happen. But for whatever reason, these guys seem to me like that final, I don't know, bit of magic dust has completely escaped them. I don't know if they're overthinking it or what, but there seems to be a real lack of that. As I say, I'll say again, killer instinct in the final third, Paul, you know what I mean?
Well, fortunately, everything has been long-range efforts. We have had 21 shots at goal in the first half, but, very few of them have been intricate one-touch passing that's carved open a defence. There's a cutback and then you've scored a goal. The two occasions where that might have been the case were the two that Griffiths scuffed, and if you were going to put any money on someone scoring from 12 yards, it would have been him. It would be remiss of me, Lawrence, to go through this halftime analysis and not speak about a penalty shout, so I'm going to give that one to you. 23 minutes in, should Lee Griffiths have had a penalty?
Brother John, give us a penalty. but it's pretty we're relying on it, but it's fairly stick on, isn't it? Kenny should have had a free kick outside of the box, continued into the box. But to be honest, if you've got 21 shots, you shouldn't be looking at penalties. It's pretty poor. It's like guys down the park just taking shots in. It doesn't seem to be too much effort being applied up front, or too much desire up front. It's pretty poor performance. But yeah, can't see brother John giving us a penalty. Saves them for other teams.
The big thing, Tony, is you're looking at a side here now. Russell said decade of dominance, and I thought to myself, wow, we have just had a decade of dominance. That's quite hard to believe. And you're looking at a side here who seem devoid not of confidence as such, but almost of ideas. So if you're John Kennedy sitting here at half time and you've had you've managed this team now for 2.5 games, what do you do at half time? You've got a fairly strong bench.
You just look at that team that's lost their mojo completely and utterly. Celtic have lost their mojo. That's it. And you cannot just push a button and that comes back. Would you be surprised now if Celtic lose this 1-0? Would that surprise you?
Don't. Seriously.
I would lose one.
I just got a wave of fear there, Tony. Didn't say things like that, man.
I'm asking a serious question. Do you trust the manager to turn this round? And do you trust those players to come out in the second half and go all guns?
No, because if he continues to act as Neil Lennon has, as he appears to do, then he's not going to think about changing anything until 85 minutes when nothing can be done.
Correct. And you'll end up losing a goal in between such times and it'll be too late to change it. That's the point I'm making. He watched that happen at Ross County. We watched that happen at Ross County the night that the league was finally done and dusted. Mm-hmm. Going the same way, they lost a League Cup tie to Ross County. Lamentable performance. It's heading the same way. Yeah, we might have peppered their goal with shots, 21 shots, but keeper's not had a decent save to make. One dive to turn a Turnbull drive away.
Yeah.
Tough efforts.
The very fact, Tony, that when you gave us that question, none of us said, "Oh, absolutely, I'd be absolutely surprised." Because to be fair, I don't think any of us sitting here are 100% confident that we are going to see this game out. I mean, even if it was to go to extra time, that's going to be painful. That will be a painful experience if this goes through extra time. It wouldn't be the first time this season that we have gone to extra time against a team that's below the Premiership. You know, Hearts in the Scottish Cup. Lawrence and Laura were watching that game with myself, and that was a bit painful as well. But you're right, they've lost their mojo, Tony. Absolutely.
You said there we've got a strong bench. See if we've got a strong bench, why aren't half of those guys playing then?
Well, to be fair, a couple of them, certainly a couple of them would be in my starting lineup. I would never have started with Tommy Rogic. And I think his first half performance has done nothing to change my mind on that one. And again, I've got an issue around this Scott Brown winning the cup for Brown and all that kind of stuff. If you're planning for next season, I wouldn't have started Brown either. You know, he's announced that he won't be at Celtic Park.
Just to pick up on what you've said there, Paul. We've all had points throughout the season, and we've all talked about it when we thought the league was over, when we thought Lennon should go. Tonight is the night that I've realised that there are certain players who should never see the light of day in a Celtic shirt again. Rogic, Griffiths are two that spring to mind specifically. I mean, they are so below the level of what they've been in the past and so below the level of what we should expect from a Celtic footballer. I would not be disappointed not to see either of them in a Celtic shirt ever again. And that's sad to say, given the memories that both of them have given us over the last decade. But to me, their time is done, and we need change, and we need it as soon as possible.
You know, the big thing again, coming in from Facebook, 3 number 10s on the pitch again, it's never worked. Remember, against John Hughes' Ross County, and that was the big criticism that we had that night, Tony, where we were looking at the lineup and we're trying to figure out where you fit these 3 guys in. Rogic, Turnbull and Christie. How does that work? Well, the simple answer, it doesn't. It doesn't work, does it?
Oh, it hasn't worked, and we're watching it unfold again. You're watching another potential cup exit unfold in front of your eyes, and you do not have faith in the manager to change this if at any given point in this game Falkirk score, which you would not rule out.
In one comment, has Brian Murphy absolutely summed up Celtic's season? Panel going from us scoring 4 or 5 to losing 1-0.
But it was Brian that said that we were unreasonable for predicting 4 or 5. But the point is, we can always go into a game expecting more. But then you can't argue with the evidence that's put in front of you. We can't honestly sit here at half time, having watched what we've just watched, and think to ourselves that we're going to go out and score 4 in the second half. This is something that I come across a lot with the comments. You're allowed to change your opinion based on what you see. I don't think that's unreasonable, but
no, that a spin on evidence based, as King Jim
yes.
was.
No, you're absolutely right, because I mean we were criticised for our comments, Tony, around the transfer window. You know, so you call it as you see it at that time. You know, when you're bringing in these players that you feel are strengthening the squad, you don't lose any players. You talk about it being a strong transfer window. And obviously now looking back, with hindsight, it's great because you can say it was an absolutely disastrous transfer window. But at the time, I was happy with it, and I think a lot of Celtic fans were. We're buying we're bringing players in on loan from AC Milan. We're buying £5 million strikers, a £5 million goalkeeper, Shane Duffy. So we were talking about that as we seen it, Laura, at that time. And then obviously now, moving forward, you can look back on it and say, well, it was a disaster. And, you know, to a lesser extent, tonight's been the same. We should expect to be beating a team that's in the 3rd tier of Scottish football, playing a, less than full strength side tonight at Celtic Park. You would expect to win comfortably. And unless there are big changes at half time, that's not going to happen. And yeah, if you win 1-0, great, you're through to the next round. But it strengthens the discussion that we had, Tony, before the game. Get Eddie in now. Don't wait till the end of the season. This is painful to watch.
Talking to me? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Tony, aye.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, well, ideally in an ideal world, you would want him in right now. Yeah, of course. because he would make a difference.
You have been likened to movie stars in the past, but that one line there, you talking to me? Aye, we'll take. But yes, I mean, in terms of first half, how often have we seen it? How often have we seen that performance? It doesn't matter if John Kennedy's in charge, Neil Lennon's in charge. This shows you the magnitude, the size of the task that awaits Eddie Howe, if he is indeed the man that comes in. Lawrence, I don't know if you're watching the game. Are we kicked off?
Yeah, mate, we're about 2 minutes in. I had another shot, but it didn't go there. He's giving us a free kick, mate. What about the first half? That ball was about 8 yards back. No wonder. Couldn't get up and down.
We'll talk about that at full time. Let's go and see if we can pull something out of this game in the second half.
Beaton's, if nothing, if not consistent. This ball's only 8 yards back as well.
Thanks everybody for joining us, and we will be back at full time on A Celtic State of Mind.